What's the time when you saw an a-hole kid get what they deserve? Story 1. When I was in my mid teens, a little neighbor girl around 5 to 6 years younger than me came to my door. She accused me of putting my name in her sidewalk. It had recently been done. Except, of course, that wasn't my name in the sidewalk. That not being enough, she then accused me of using a fake name in the sidewalk so I wouldn't get caught. I asked her why, because that would defeat the purpose, to which she came up with this gem. I'm going to tell my dad that you hit me. No such thing had happened. Then she turns to run off and do just that, right? Face first into the sharp stone stucco wall, splitting her lips, nose, and cheek open pretty bad. She told her dad I did it. He came to my door and calmly asked me what happened, and I told him exactly. He said, yeah, that's something she'd do. Story 2. I was driving a fire truck back from an all-night fire about 7 a.m. This truck's diesel mixture was a bit rich, so if you set a while and gunned it, you might get smoke from the exhaust. As I approached the highway from the residential street I was on, there were 6 middle school kids waiting for the school bus on the corner. As some kids do, they stand or walk in the street and refuse to move for cars. As I came to the intersection, one little prick looks at me smugly and does not move, causing me to have to go into the oncoming lane at the intersection. I patiently waited until I could make my turn onto the highway and then gunned the hell out of the fire truck's diesel engine, causing a thick blob of black thick smoke to come out of the exhaust, which was mid-truck pointed right at the kids. They were coated in a thick oily diesel fumes, especially Mr. Smug, and last I saw they were halfway down the block on the sidewalk running, with me on the road spewing smoke after them. Mr. Smug looked at me with terror in his little, half-developed mind. Story 3. I grew up in a really small town where most of us kids went to the same school together. All through elementary school, this girl who lived down the street from me was a total prick. She was taller than most of the boys and would bully anybody she felt was beneath her. One day, coming home on the bus, she was picking on this boy in my grade. We were a year younger than her. He wasn't an albino, but pretty damn close. White hair, really pale skin, thick glasses, and his parents saddled him with the name Clarence. Kid just couldn't catch a break. Anyway, this girl was leaning over the back of her seat and in his face the whole ride home, calling him names, making fun of his glasses, clothes, etc. A few of us tried to get her to stop, but she was relentless. Poor Clarence just sat there, his face getting redder and redder, the occasional tear sliding down his face. When the bus came to his stop, he slid to the end of the bench seat, calmly stood up, and turned to her. Then, faster than anybody could even take a breath, he hauled off and did a full arm swing and smacked her in the face with his lunchbox. His metal lunchbox. Then he just turned into the aisle and slowly walked off the bus. They say when an EOD has a bad day, he turns into pink mist. Her nose had a bad day. She spent the next 3 months with varying degrees of black eyes as a result of the initial injury and subsequent surgeries to repair her nose. That was the last time she bullied anyone, and the best part of the whole story is that Clarence never got in trouble for it. Story 4. Our neighbors have 5 kids. They're all brats, but the middle child, a boy, is the worst. He was in front of his house one day while I was outside doing some landscaping in my front yard. A shiny new red pickup truck drove by, then slammed on the brakes and started backing up. It stopped in front of the brat's house. I heard the lady in the passenger seat yell, "Did you just throw a rock at our car?" Of course, the boy denied it and started making up some ridiculous excuse like he always does when people catch him making mischief. The woman cut him off and told him to go get his mom. Apparently, the woman in the truck was from the neighborhood and was also fed up with their kids and their nonsense. The mom finally came out, holding the youngest brat, and the woman in the truck proceeded to give her the kind of verbal beatdown that the mom should have been given her kid all along. Watching that mom stand there and listen to some stranger rightfully criticize her parenting for 10 minutes straight was gratifying. The only thing better was watching the brat squirm the whole time. Story 5. There was this kid who used to annoy me and my friends growing up. He was years younger than us and didn't just want to play with us. We played sports games with kids years younger than us, age was never an issue. He just wanted to annoy us. We'd play all different games, street hockey, baseball with a tennis ball, or wiffle ball, etc. He'd constantly watch, waiting for his moment to jump in and mess up the game. We tried ignoring him at first, but there's only so many places to play in our neighborhood, so we couldn't really go with too many other places to play. After a while, we realized ignoring him wouldn't be enough, he simply had too much fun with it. We started trying to annoy him back, throw the ball at him, stuff like that. He always laughed as he dodged them, but would start wailing when we hit him. He went running home, and his parents hated us. One day, his father finally walked up to us and told us to relax and stop bullying his kid, while the kid had that awful grin behind him, knowing he's screwing you over. The father was actually reasonable enough to say he doesn't know who's telling the truth because he wasn't there. He asked us to ask the kid to leave or at least go elsewhere. We would go elsewhere, but the brat would follow us and annoy us constantly. We kind of got to the point where, as bad as it may have looked, we'd do something to him, he'd run crying home, and then we'd leave to find somewhere else to play. After a while, we were playing something and he was there annoying us. His father drove by and happened to see the kid annoying us and slammed his brakes and just parked his car in the middle of the road. He absolutely tore into his kid and his kid was bawling his eyes out. His father made him apologize to us and apologize to us himself since he realized that it was his kid causing all the issues. We never had another issue with the kid again. We'd all laugh whenever we see him and he'd just get pissed and run off to probably annoy somebody else. Story 6. Worked in a pet store when I was in high school and we had a real issue with this particular family letting their kids act like douchebags all over the store. One fateful day, a whole family walks in and douchebag daughter goes right to the puppy room. Kids can't hold dogs without a parent and no one picks up a pup unless we are the ones to get them out of their little runs for them. Well, little Miss Asswipe reaches in and grabs the pup by the leg and tries to pull it towards the wall of the run so she can lift it out. I see this on my CC monitor by the register and run over to stop her from hurting this puppy. By the time I get in, she has hoisted this dog up by one leg and nearly has him over the wall of the run. Mom and Dad are standing right there, not doing anything when I walk in. Before I can get a word out, this prick of a daughter sees me and drops the puppy back into the run and turns around like nothing happened. I yell at the girl and her parents obviously get defensive and I offer to play back the tape of their daughter hauling a puppy up by its legs and then dropping it 4 feet onto a tile floor. I tell them they need to go and of course they refuse. As I go back up front to inform the manager, I notice little Miss Frickwit poking her fingers into the feeder rat cage while shaking it. The rat in the cage was a jumbo feeder and was separated from the other feeders because she had just had a litter of pups. Now, red moms are good moms. They will protect their babies, unlike mice who give zero fricks about their young ones. This is important. A-hole daughter has her finger in the cage and is banging on the opposite side when karma strikes. Mama Rat is not having any of the scrap and runs right up the girl's soft pink finger and bites down hard on the little finger. All hell breaks loose because Mama Rat isn't letting go and Rat bites blow. Parents freak, manager tries to calm the situation, and I get a band-aid and alcohol for little Frickwit so she stops bleeding all over the floor. In the end, A-hole family isn't banned from the store, boo, but stops coming soon after because idiot mom insists that the giant blue and gold macaw is friendly even though it isn't, and gets her ear ripped up a good one. In the end, rat mom and babies get promoted to pet rats instead of feeders for their brave part in helping exact vengeance of prickhead families with demon spawn. The blue and gold macaw was also rewarded for his part with many, many french fries. Story 7. Tim was hit by a car and almost died. Broken bones, brain injury, and coma at the age of 9. He missed 2 years of school. When he came back, he joined my class. Mentally he was there, but not. Academically he was fine, but socially he had a hard time making friends. Had a almost non-functioning left arm, tremors, and a slightly different walk due to his left leg being shattered. It made him an easy target. One morning before school started, Jeff, who was one of the primary agitators, really lets into him. It was almost 30-something years ago and I can't remember what set him off, but Tim grabs Jeff's neck with the bad left arm, we found out the grip was just fine, and took his good right and punched him in the face uninterrupted for a good 60 seconds. Being 2 years older gave him a distinct reach advantage. I wish this had an effect on everybody and they would leave him alone. I remember my fifth grade teacher shutting down class one day and chewing us out about Tim, but it did no good. It was back to normal the next day. Screw junior high. There's a reason I don't talk to those a-holes anymore. Story 8. I played soccer my freshman year of high school, and my team was one of the better ones in our division. There was a team from another school who we had heard would always try and cheat their way into a win, faking injuries, trying to injure you when the refs weren't looking, etc. And finally, we got our chance to play them. Their team was playing man to man defense, so the same girl was guarding me basically the entire game. Every time she would get close to me, she would dig her fingernails into my skin, so by the time we got to a break, my arms were completely shredded. I told my coach what was going on, and he went and mentioned it to the refs. They said they would watch out for it, but when play resumed, she kept on right on doing it, and the refs continued to not notice it. Finally, I was pretty fed up. At one point, she came and stood behind me, but also slightly to my right. As soon as she reached out to touch me, I popped her in the stomach with my elbow as hard as I could. She, of course, fell to the ground and pitched a big fit, and they ended up stopping the game. When the refs came over, she was being very dramatic, rolling around and screaming in pain, and she told them this whole sob story of what had happened. I'm sure it did hurt a little, because I meant it to, but certainly didn't hurt as much as she was making it seem. The refs went ahead and red carded me though, despite the previous complaints about this girl, so I went up and sat in the stands with some of the parents. By the time play resumed, she was magically feeling good enough to play again, except this time she was guarding my friend Kay, who is much more awesome and less patient than I am. This girl starts doing the same thing to Kay that she had been doing to me, but Kay only put up with it for about 45 seconds before she turned around and popped her one right in the face. The girl ended up having to sit out the rest of the game because her nose was bleeding pretty badly, and Kay was red carded as well and got to come hang out with me in the stand. It was, of course, awesome watching Kay punch the girl in the face, but the aftermath was awesome as well. First, we won the game. Actually, we beat that team every subsequent year of high school as well. Second, it was found out after the game that one of the refs was actually related to one of the girls on the other team, so they actually downgraded Kay and I's red cards to yellow cards. And third, the next year when we played that same team, Kay managed to catch that girl's eye before the game started and give her a really menacing look. We saw the girl go talk to her coach right after that, and she ended up sitting out that entire game. We never saw her after that. Oh, and we won the States that year as well. Did you ever experience karma getting back in one of those kids? Let us know in the comments. Hit that like button, and I'll see you next time.